Welcome back to another special edition of Season 2 of the TURD podcast, also known as the Trail Ultra Running Race Directors podcast. Today, we're stepping away from our usual storytelling format to dig into the endurance mindset that powered athletes through the Queeny Backyard Ultra race weekend. I'm your host, Shalini Bhajjan, and I'm excited to sit down with the top male and female performers to unpack their race experience, their strategies, and the mental grit that kept them moving loop after loop. So let's dive in. Welcome to the podcast, Stephanie Rosebaugh and Jeff Walker. How are you guys?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Yeah, doing great.
Recovering, I assume?
Very well.
Well, yeah. Well, thank you so much for talking to me. And I will start with Stephanie, and we'll kind of go back and forth between Jeff and Stephanie. And to start off, I guess let's talk about Queeny because it was the silver ticket edition. I am assuming that both of you went into it with the mindset silver ticket, in it to win it. Or talk to me a little bit about what that mindset was, and especially both of you traveled from out of town coming into St. Louis. So, Stephanie, talk about your mindset and what was the goal?
Yeah, so going into any of these races, I kind of go into it with a outcome goal and then a process goal. And for my outcome goal, I definitely was chasing the silver ticket.
Sure.
And I think it was also this opportunity to practice everything that I had learned from doing my loops in other races. And I just really wanted to implement it in one solid format. And I think being able to do that at Queenie's was the timing of it based on other races that I had planned to do this year. Seemed to make the most sense. Gotcha. My process goal it's always to start off by having fun and let the race be my teacher, because I think one of the things in ultra running that you're required to have is flexibility, because like this race and many others, you have to kind of navigate when things are thrown at you and things that are completely out of your control. It's learning to kind of embrace that journey and reset and keep going.
Sure. So just so everybody listening in knows, both Stephanie and Jeff have run backyards prior. So, and Stephanie, you won a backyard.
No. So
was that assist for you?
I was an assist.
Okay. And how many miles was that for you? That was still up there.
It was 279.
Okay. All right. Jeff, I'm going to turn to you. Talk to me about your sort of set goal coming into Queeny.
Yeah. So qualified to Queeny through another race. So kind of came in. I purposely, leading up to it, I never checked the entrance list to see who was going to be there. I just really wanted to rely on my own training, and I had a really good winter, leading up to it, that gave me a lot of confidence. So I think that was a key there. Definitely, my goal was to be the last person standing. But then, similar to Stephanie, you've got to have other goals along the way, because if your goal is to simply win, you enter, you're not going to be very happy about the outcome most of the time. So, my other goal is always, in a backyard especially, is to, kind of get to that place in your mind or physically where you want to quit and see how far you can push back past that. So that was kind of the goal. So at the beginning, I was more of just almost eager to get to that point where, there was only, a handful of people left and you're all feeling it and you're all wanting to push. And then kind of to see how far you can take that. So those were my goals, I guess you could say. Definitely wanted to win, but also wanted to just push myself to another level, I guess.
Yeah, and this was a distance PR. Winning to Queeny was a distance PR for you.
It was,
so, yeah. And
by about 50 miles, yeah.
Yeah, and it was a great performance. So I'm going to go into a little bit about your splits as we talk about strategies, because having hosted the race for 6 years now, it's incredible to watch athletes and how they're coming in, and at what points they're slowing down, and the race like unravels for everyone at some point or the other. So Stephanie, let's start with you. You started out, and again, this is just me kind of dissecting your splits. You held pretty steady with somewhere between 43 minutes to 48 minutes each loop as you were coming in. And that kind of kept on until 24th yard, so to speak. And then there was a slowdown, which, went into more of a 50, 52, minute split. So what was your strategy? I mean, was there a plan to continue to hold the 40-minute pace? Talk to me about that a little bit.
Yeah. I think always at the beginning when you're fresh, you've just come off a taper, you have a lot of energy. And,
Sure.
and so typically my goal is to come in between 45 and 50 to give a solid place to put up my feet and take a rest and have enough time to eat something and let it kind of settle before going again. And so it usually, in my experience in these backyards, which is still very new, it is to try to get in between that 45 and 50.
Okay. Jeff, how about you? I'm looking at your splits, and they tell a very different story. You were coming in somewhere between 47 and 56. And that kind of held steady throughout the 200 and however many miles that you end up running. There were a handful of 47, 45-minute splits, and I kind of remember at one point one of your crew actually calling out and going, he wants to take a 10-minute nap or he wants to take a 5-minute nap, so he's coming in hot. So talk to me about your strategy there with your, splits and kind of keeping them, as consistent as you were able to throughout the entirety of the race.
Yeah, so this is actually the first backyard I've had, I'd say, a set plan when it comes to pacing of some kind. And I really, as the race came closer, when I saw what Friday was going to be temperature-wise,
Sure.
I was like, I've been running in 20, 30 degrees at the most. Like this is going to feel like 90, not going to feel like 78. So I made it I was going to take it very easy during that first day. In fact, on my pacing, I put like 56 minutes. Like I didn't necessarily want to be slower than 56, but I'm like, if I can get close to 56, that would be great. Knowing that would mean a lot more walking and I wasn't going to overheat on that first day. And then at night, I was planning on maybe every third loop, throw in a faster loop so I could try to get some sleep. That's been an issue, I would say. My major issue with backyards is the sleep aspect.
Sure.
For the last few, I've gotten 0 seconds of sleep, except for this one. It did work this time. So I threw some faster loops to get that sleep. But I tried to just stay consistent, knowing that I wanted to go long. And if I wanted to go long, I didn't want to waste any energy when it wasn't necessary. So I had certain, the delay definitely threw a wrench into our plans of our schedule of what we had.
Sure.
As far as sleep. And then I had some faster loops in there for maybe like some massage and stretching and things like that. But we got off schedule, but we still kind of stuck to a sort of a schedule like that, where I kind of knew at the start of every loop what I was planning on doing, and there wasn't a loop where I didn't hit what I was planning on doing. So
Sure.
That felt good. Yeah.
So Stephanie, let's talk to you about, you had more of a cushion between each lap. So was that strictly to give you time to just put your legs up and eat? And then what was your fueling strategy throughout each lap? Because at some points that, having been an endurance athlete myself, at some point, no amount of food hangs in there. and it gets harder to eat and drink, where you're just like, I'm totally just, on fumes here. So talk to me about that.
Yeah. So, what works best for me is to eat early, eat often, and at the minimum to consume 200 calories every single hour.
Okay. And are you able to put that down easily?
At the beginning, yes. Usually till about mile 100, my stomach still is like, we're doing good. And then after that, I just have crew hand me 200 calories and make it go down.
Sure.
Like that's just and then,
to any means necessary.
Right? Go back and swallow.
Well, and so it's funny. One of the photos was taken is like the worst photo of me, but it's because I'm trying to get something to go down. And the photographer like nailed the picture because it's awful. It's like the worst picture ever. But it was like, I remember the moment of looking up and seeing him and being like, oh crap. Like he just caught that on camera. Right. Because there is a place where you don't want to consume anymore, or your mouth is just so dry.
Sure.
That it's really hard to swallow. And so it just happens, but you just got to keep pushing on and like face that discomfort.
Gotcha. So let's go back to fueling. You said 200 calories. Was there some sort of liquid calories, solid calories?
Yes.
And then also talk to me about what was primarily, because I'm assuming at the start of the race, what you're eating or what you're fueling with is very different from the last 30, 40 miles of the race or however long you keep going. Is there a transition in that? And what were you using?
Yeah, so I rotated between the Goo Roctane, grape flavored, caffeine free liquid calories, and then Precision Hydration. They have it has 1,000 milligrams of sodium and 60 carbs, I think. So in my bottles, I would do a lap with one of those, and then the next lap I would just do water. So every other. And in addition to that, then I would eat something solid. So whether it was I love those Bobo sandwiches that are strawberry and grape flavored, I would get those to go down. We picked up stuff from Costco, like chicken salad, and I would throw it on tortilla chips and protein shakes every 3 hours just to keep from the muscle breakdown. Sure. And then I try to hold off on caffeine for as long as I possibly can.
Jeff, let's turn this on to you. So talk to me, because your splits were, you didn't have a whole lot of cushion in between each lap.
Yeah.
Probably maybe 5 minutes before the whistle went off and you were lining up. What was your fueling strategy? And I, now I'm thinking about it. I don't remember either one of you just taking the food on the go. I'm sure people were, but it was just kind of... So talk to me about that, and what was your primary source of fuel? I mean, or was it just throwing everything down?
Well, if sleep is my kryptonite, eating is my superpower. So I was putting down. We did keep track of this for the first time. So I think my low was 300 for an hour.
Okay.
And my high was and it didn't go so well after this. I had 650 one time. And that was probably my worst loop after that. But so I was anywhere between 300 and 600. I probably averaged 450, I would say, per hour.
Yeah.
And I was always carrying a tailwind with me, either 100 calories of that, or sometimes it was 200 calories. It was 2 scoops, depending on if I was able to eat enough or not, is how they depended on that. And then at the beginning, I was eating. I mean, you could eat anything. Like she said, you're moving slow enough, and your palate's fine. You can. I ate a Chick-fil-A sandwich. I had, I had just different things. Yeah. Had Taco Bell at one time. And then I really hit well this time was rice pudding. I had quite a few of those.
Yeah.
Really, really easy to swallow. Cereal, like Cocoa Pebbles was a go-to. Let it get a little soggy in the milk, and it's easy to swallow.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I ate a ton of Rice Krispie treats along the way. Gummy bears. You don't see it, but I take a handful of those almost every time I head out.
Yeah.
10 of those is 100 calories. You can eat 10 gummy bears like nothing. So that's like my staple. So, and then I was doing scratch recovery mix every
Sure.
4 to 6 hours probably.
Yeah.
And then just different. I do like meal replacement shakes,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
like 350 calories in 8 ounces. Like as long as your stomach can handle that, like gut
Right.
bomb
Right.
calories,
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
a perfect thing. So those are what I tend to go with, and it really worked out pretty well. At the end, I started
Yeah.
mixing in a gel a 200 calorie, 50-gram carb gel every lap in the middle, just to kind of make sure I was reaching those calories. But
So, at any point, did you ever feel like you were like calorie deficient, or did you feel pretty steady with your effort?
I felt steady. My worst yard was after I had too many calories, probably, and things didn't mix well in my stomach, and I just felt like I was going to get. I mean, honestly, like I was going to get sick at some point.
Yeah.
And that was really my lowest mentally throughout that. And I'm trying to think back to when I meant to bring the paperwork that we kept, that we tracked.
Yeah.
That was probably somewhere around not quite 200 miles. So we were probably around 180 or something like that was my
I
lowest.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, at what point does your mouth? Because Stephanie, I remember Stephanie saying, "I can't taste anything." So what was that point for you where you were just like, there is no palate left. It's just all goop, you know?
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Oh man, I don't necessarily remember that, but I remember the point where I think I had like my 18th Rice Krispie treat, and I was like, I can't eat another one of these. Like the feel of it on my tongue was just,
Yeah.
it was rough. Everything else tended to go down. I forgot to mention mashed potatoes. That's
Yeah.
a staple as well. Yeah. So
Yeah.
just things you can shove in your mouth and swallow, like that you don't
Without a
have
lot of chewing.
to do any work on. Yeah.
Yeah. Stephanie, what about you? Because, I heard you say, I can't taste anything. Like, and this was after you had tapped out. So at what point was it just like all the flavors just blended together?
Gosh, I think it was like after we took that 3-hour break.
Yeah.
It was getting myself to stay warm enough. And so I started to go towards like hotter foods, like mashed potatoes, hot chocolate, that sort of thing, and ramen. And it was just like, give me something without any texture so I could just swallow.
Yeah.
And I would say it was probably like 150 miles in, somewhere along there.
So, before we dive into sleep deprivation, and we will then also touch on the 3-hour hold, I guess I would like to talk about where, how does that weather, or how did that weather, because we had it was a weekend packed with all seasons. We had summer at 80 degrees on Friday, and then it dropped, and then there was thunder, lightning, torrential downpour for hours. And then it got freezing cold down to like mid-30s. And then the next day was sunny again. So did that, I'm sure that had to have impacted your performance, mental, like where were you, Stephanie, when, and I know you're from Arizona, so perhaps the heat, how did that impact you?
Yeah. I mean, I was really happy on Friday when it was 80 degrees. I mean, we could have just stayed there the whole time. Like that's my jam. And so, but I think that going into these things, you have to embrace what you can't control, right? And so when it started to rain in previous races, it's been kind of like where I throw a pity party.
Yeah.
But I've shifted my thinking into being like, this can be so much fun. Because if we just remember being children and like wanting to play in puddles, I was like, we can just have fun with this.
Sure.
And so as long as you have the proper clothes on, you're going to be fine. So the rain part wasn't bad for me this time. It was more when then it decided to drop it into the 30s.
Yeah.
That I was like, okay, I can only have so much fun with the weather here.
Yeah. And it got
and
cold.
the variety.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was freezing cold. Jeff, how about you? Where were you? Because, I mean, as you mentioned earlier when we were chatting, you'd been training in 20, 30 degrees, similar to where our weather was.
Yeah. Friday, of course, I was like just trying to play it cool. I had an ice bandit on for probably, I'd say 5 of the yards on Friday when it was the hottest. And then just kind of taking it easy, trying not to push the pace at all. Throwing in, I was walking every downhill, every uphill I could find, and then just running the flats basically. And then the downpour, I had flashbacks to last March at Ohio Backyard, where I think we got about 5 inches of rain in a 4-hour period, and it was just, I didn't have the proper clothes, like Stephanie was saying, and every jacket I put on would just get soaked through, and then I would come back shaking, shivering, put another one on, and finally I ran out of jackets. I'm like, well, if it doesn't stop, then I'm not going to make it. Luckily it did, but I was having that flashback, but I did buy a couple better rain jackets in the last year, so it seemed to help a lot better. But when it got cold, I mean, it's not ideal, obviously, but it is what I've been used to. I mean, it got below zero multiple days in Indiana this winter that I was in, so it wasn't anything I was worried about, but you're right. It's just not comfortable. It's not comfortable leaving your heated tent to go out into 30 degrees.
Yeah.
That it's mentally more the issue than it is physically, I think.
Physically.
But
sure.
Yeah.
So, Jeff, touch a little bit about on your training. Was there any extreme peaks? I've had multiple different athletes. Training is not one formula.
Yeah.
What was your training like? Just briefly, how far up did you peak at the last of it? What was taper like?
I would say from like January, February, end of December, January, February, I was usually around 100 miles or a little bit above. I think my biggest week was like 117, 120, somewhere in there.
Okay.
I don't do a lot of cross training. That's something I keep saying I probably need to do as I get older. I did do a little bit of strength training as well, tied into that, but that's something also I need to do better. But most of it's just straight running. And where I live, there's not too many hills, so Queeny felt like a mountainous course to me because I live in flat area of Indiana. So a lot of bike paths and even the trails we have close by are just like gravel trails that are very flat. So it was a different atmosphere. So I wouldn't say training was good. I felt confident in it because of the volume I was able to put in without any injuries. I think the only down week I had is I got a concussion slipping on the ice. So I had a low week 1 week, but every other week I'd never had an injury. And so that made me feel confident that I was able to stack that many weeks on each other. That I felt like I could handle the hills there a little bit better. But yeah, that was the one thing that worried me was the terrain at Queeny. Yeah.
So what was your mileage like for your long run with your 117 peak?
I would typically do I think my longest run, I did a 38 mile run.
Okay. Any back-to-backs, or was that
And
like,
then
how was
normally
that?
that week I didn't, but normally I would do like maybe a 25 on Saturday and a 15 or 20 on Sunday, sort of thing.
Gotcha.
Um,
Okay.
and then lots of 10-mile runs before work in the mornings during the
Sure.
week.
Stephanie, how about you? And coming from a very female perspective, my body does not handle that kind of load. I've been there, done it. And where were you with your training leading into Queeny?
Yeah, so I think I had my highest mileage weeks were like 90 to 100 miles.
Okay.
I had just done across the years at the end, like on New Year's Eve.
Sure.
And I did 170 something miles there. So I had that I was kind of going off of as well. And I think if anything, like I incorporate strength training 2 to 3 times a week.
Sure.
And I was holding like Queeny and Cocodona kind of closely. So like I was also having to get some elevation training in so that I am ready for Cocodona. And so I had one event where I paced a friend at Black Canyon for 32 miles.
Okay.
And then like a day before that or after that, I don't remember, where I did another 30.
Okay. So course, quickly, let's talk about, again, both of you are from out of town. So Stephanie, going into that, what was that first loop like? Was that more like, I'm going to have to reset a little, or was it more like, oh, I can manage this?
So Kyle and I went out on Thursday and we walked a loop.
Sure.
Just so that I could get my mind wrapped around what this was actually going to be like. And that was really helpful. But then it was like, my coach said to walk the downhills.
Yeah.
And the uphills if I needed. And I felt better like running the downhills and power hiking the uphills. So that's kind of the rhythm I went about once I found my groove.
Yeah. Was that consistent across every lap, or did you walk the downhills at some point?
Well, if you count the last 5 laps where my body just stiffened right up and I couldn't get it loose again,
sure.
that was different. I was walking probably 90% of it. And, but before then, yes, I was pretty consistent of like running the downhills, power hiking the uphills.
Jeff, what about you? Any thoughts on the course? I know you said you didn't have that much of a hill.
Yeah. Stephanie probably
feel
views,
like,
Queeny has a very flat course.
Well, I always feel like Queeny's got these douchey little punchy hills, and it's like never ends, and I can never. I don't know which way, because we switch the course every year, and I think either way you cut it, it's rough. It gets rough after a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, talk to me about the course.
So I knew that from listening to your podcast, like I knew the elevation, like gain, how much there was. So I knew like, hey, I don't have much like that around me. So I knew it was going to be hilly for me. So I didn't know the course though until yard 1 when I ran it. But as soon as I started heading down that first downhill on the pavement, I was like, walking this, like I know what this hill is going to do to my legs, having not run enough downhills. So that was my one worry, was that the downhills were going to get me, and that was going to put a pound in my quads, and I was going to not go as far as I wanted. So started walking those. I think I walked that downhill every yard, but maybe like 4. On some of those night loops where I went faster, I ran that. But every other time I walked that hill. But, I mean, I liked the course. I didn't like that little muddy section there in the middle. But
yeah, I bet that was awful. That was not fun marking the course.
I would have had the same shoes on the whole time, but I had to change my shoes. And then if it wasn't for that upper area that was flat in the gravel, that's where I ran every step of that for the most part. And that's what allowed me, I think, to walk the downhills and the uphills, having that section up there. And there were times I was probably running that at an 8:30 pace because I was doing so much walking. And I'm not a fast walker. That's something I could probably work on as well. I'm not that fast of a hiker, I don't feel like. So my power hike needs some work. So I was tending to run, 8:30, 9-minute pace up there, and then trying to walk. I was walking a good chunk of that last mile as well with those roller coaster.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah. So.
Yeah. So now let's talk about the elephant in the room, the 3-hour delay. And I know everybody's got an opinion on it. I've heard from every angle, and I have my own opinion. But Stephanie, because I remember you were all ready, and that was at around 100K mile mark when, there was storms moving in, thunder and lightning. So the decision was, let's hold the race for 3 hours, pick it back up at 4 a.m. on Saturday. And I remember there was a handful of you guys already at the start, ready to go with your ponchos and rain gear. And then I'm like, come back at 4. And I kind of remember hearing, hell yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that's the first, right? Because most of the time, like in the past, I've had to pull off, runners or cut the race out for a couple hours, and nobody digs that. So yeah, like, where was your head at that? I know the first thought is, I can get some sleep, but so walk me through that. And I know pretty much when you came back, that was sort of like as I'm looking at your splits, it was just kind of slowly, the length of the loops was getting, you were more in the 50s and kind of just slowing down. So what was that progression like for you?
Yeah. So, I mean, in that moment when you announced that, I was like, yes, this is going to be my superpower. Right. And then I went back to the tent, and, as much as you try to rest when it's like thundering that it's shaking the ground, like I've never experienced that in my life. And lightning, like, I don't think I rested very well at all. And then coming back, like, my body just wasn't moving as well. And it was tolerable. I could keep going and push through, but that's where you did see, like, the colder it got, my body just tightened right up. And I remember doing a little loop with Jeff at one point, and he's like, so what's going on? And I was like, I don't know, these inclines, they feel like they get steeper every single time.
I remember that.
And I was like, my legs feel so stinking tight. And it didn't matter what massage or like compression sock or whatever that I was putting on in between. It just, my body was like, this is, we're really tight right now, and we're not going to do anything about it.
Where was your mind as far as, for some people, I felt like, because we had a drop right at that point when I said, hey, we're going to call it up until 4 a.m. There was a handful, actually quite a few people dropped. Mentally, where were you, like, coming back out of it? Physically, as you said, you were tight and it was hard to get, like, did that allow for any sort of mental reset, or was that more like, oh crap?
No, I think mentally, like, I was like, let's go. Like, this is just part of the process that we can't control. And I think I was really grateful because I was like debating whether to take caffeine or not.
Yeah.
And I hadn't yet. And so it was like, it was also good timing for that as well.
Sure. And when you guys started back at 4 a.m., I remember there was at least 2 big rumbles, and lightning was kind of hitting across. I could see it sitting in the tent, and I was like, oh shit. And there was 2.5, 3 hours of steady downpour, even, when we picked back up, and that had like, where were you mentally going back into that downpour coming all directions?
I think I was like, okay, this has a different level of fun attached to it. And I don't think there was any rain gear that anybody could buy that would keep you dry. Yeah. At one point I was like, I think my clothes are all soaked. And when I had gotten back to the tent, I literally took everything off and Kyle wrung everything out. And it was just like a sponge. Yeah. And so I think mentally that took a toll, okay, how long is this storm really going to go on for? Because it felt like forever. Yeah. And it wasn't I want to put a picture with it. It wasn't like a drizzle. No. It was raining hard, the whole time. Yeah. And then I think my favorite part was walking from the corral to my tent was just one giant mud slosh. Oh yeah. And then we would get into our tent where we set it up and we had a tarp down. And underneath the tarp, so much water had pooled. It was like walking on a waterbed. And so I was usually in between loops when I wouldn't get in a chair, I would lay on the ground and put my feet up. Yeah. But there was no laying on the ground when it was pouring rain.
Jeff, where were you? Because I know, you'd kind of kept a game face on. So it was hard to read or get a read on. But yeah, what was that 3 hours? What did that do to you mentally and physically? Where were you coming back?
Yeah, so when you told me, 3 hour break, I remember looking at my crew and they saw the panic on my face, I think, because they're like, everybody's got to do it. It's okay. Yeah. Everybody's doing it. So I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right. Everybody's got to go through it. And then my mindset kind of changed to, well, I'm going to try to make the best use of this 3 hours that I can. I'll do a better job of that than everybody else if I can. So I rolled the dice a little bit and took a sleep aid to try to help me sleep. So I actually slept for about 2.5 of that 3 hours. And having a good friend who had a pair of Normatec boots with him, and I've never tried them on before. He stuck those things on my legs, and those massaged me for a good 45 minutes I fell asleep with them on. And I'll be honest, I woke up and it was cold. I didn't like that, but my legs felt like I was in the back of our minivan. I hopped out of the back of the minivan. I was like, my legs feel pretty darn amazing, honestly. So that gave me a lot of encouragement that I was going to be okay. I thought the rain was going to end in 20 minutes or something, but no, it didn't. So I changed jackets and shirts, I think three loops straight after that. Just to try to stay as dry as possible. And the lightning striking, I was just like, well, I'm pretty short, so it's probably going to strike someone else who's taller than me. Nick so I tried to stay away from Stephanie because I think I'm taller than her. She's the one taller than. So it was definitely looking back, it's a memory that I'm going to have. Huge. The call had to be made. It was.
Oh yeah, there was no way.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. My uncle decided to sleep in the tent. He had a tent behind ours, and he's like, the ground was shaking.
Yeah. And I think when I looked at the radar, it was 4 a.m. and then that shifted, and it was oh crap, it's almost 7 a.m. and it poured even after we started. So I think I guess what I'm gathering from both of you is that it had its own level of challenge and more of a challenge than just resetting and going back at it and feeling I can tackle another 500.
I'm glad it happened as early as it did, honestly. That would have been really something difficult to overcome, I think, if it would have happened a day later.
Sure.
To take a break like that and then have that cold rain after that would have it'd been tough for a body who's been running for a day and a half to overcome. So
trail conditions post, or I guess when you guys started back up, I having had that race, marked that course, it was already very saturated in some sections. So what was that like? Again, you're kind of resetting, going back out in the rain, and then you hit, I'm sure there was standing water in places.
Mhm.
So the first day, it was really amazing. Like the people who worked at the park, they went out and they made those soft spaces like covered with like this mulch stuff.
Sure.
And it was all pretty nice that first day. But then after like the downpour, I was like, where are these trail people now?
Aren't they going to build a bridge?
I was going to say. Some floaties would be nice.
But I was like, there's no amount of mulch that's going to make this go away. So there was like Trench Alley where it was like, I was so, like literally it was safer to walk through it than to run because it was so muddy and slippery.
Yeah.
And
how many shoe changes did you go through?
3.
And I guess socks, like how often were you switching out socks?
Yeah, I typically change every 50 miles. Okay. But during that downpour, it was like every other loop I was changing my socks and my shoes.
Steph, what about you? How many pairs of shoes? And then since you hung out longer than anybody, foot care, I mean, what was the condition of your feet?
Two changes. I had 2 pairs of shoes, so I made 1 change, and then I went back to my original pair once the course dried out a little bit more. Probably, I'd say 6 pairs of socks. I think overall.
Yeah.
I tend to, like the week or 2 before the race, I was massaging my feet, trying to soften my calluses a little bit because I do have some pretty thick calluses. But I came away. I didn't have any blisters. No lost toenails. I've still never lost a toenail, so I'm waiting for that badge of honor. But maybe someday.
So jealous.
Wow.
So I don't know. My feet swell quite a bit when I run. So we've been trying to do like soak them in ice. We only got it in a few times though. It wasn't something we were able to squeeze in. But that is something I tried to do. I was planning on doing like every 8 hours or so. It was just soaking them in ice for 5-10 minutes with my socks on. Just kind of put them in bags and soak them. And that did seem to help when I was able to do it. So I don't know if that helped with the no blisters. Usually I get some kind of a blister, but no, I was lucky. Even with the water and my feet getting wet, I was able to sneak by without a blister.
Nice. Stephanie, let's talk about sleep deprivation. You have run Cocodona 250 and you've gone farther in the backyard. And I know that after 24 hours, as you had mentioned before, 100 miles is kind of where, beyond, it's inevitable to keep fighting that sleep. And so talk to me where you were with that. And obviously, not having that 3 hours to just, as Jeff was saying, he tapped out with some sleep aid. You had a very different experience. So sleep and then trying to manage that and, caffeine you had mentioned, because again, caffeine also has its drawbacks, the more you take. So dive into that a little bit.
Yeah. So I waited till after that 3-hour gap to take caffeine. And so that typically sparks me back up again. And I think as far as like sleep deprivation, at some point it's just like I've got to just take it one loop at a time. And typically it's just like, you just got to go 4 more miles. It's just 4 more miles. And when you get done with the 4 miles, you can close your eyes. And I think that's how I get through, is like in those places, I will just come back to the tent and be like, don't talk to me. I'm closing my eyes.
Sure.
And I'll get under a sleeping bag and just close them, because even if I'm not falling asleep, that rest is like irreplaceable.
Yeah. A little bit of that mental checking out for a few minutes definitely helps. Jeff, where were you? Because again, you were out there 60 hours. So did you, outside of just that 3 hour break where you managed some sleep?
I the rest of that first night, no sleep, obviously, and then kind of heading into that second day was pretty sunny, and I remember like late afternoon, like the urge to sit in in a reclining chair out in the sun and just
Yeah.
close my eyes, and like I think I dozed off for a minute or two, like in the afternoon, which is rare
Yeah.
for me. I don't usually try, but it just felt right. I felt like I was like out in a hammock in the summer on a sunny day. Um, so I mean, I would say more of like night two and then night three, I definitely got some minutes worth of sleep, which is new to me because that's not something I've been able to do. So I feel good about that I was able to do that. I didn't take any caffeine night one. I took some sunrise on day two. And then I think I ended up taking a little bit of caffeine on night two towards the end of the night when it was getting like 4 a.m., 5 a.m. when
Sure.
it's, yeah, getting rough. But yeah, I was actually able to get some sleep. Usually it's that anxiety of waiting for the whistles that I just can't
Oh, yeah.
do it. Yeah.
Yeah. So caffeine, you mentioned, is there anything in particular was it just coffee, caffeine gum, or, coffee beans?
Yeah. Coffee in the morning, Coca-Cola in
Yeah.
nighttime. Kind of
Stephanie, do you
what
have,
works.
is there your pick of the poison there?
I love coffee in the morning.
Yeah.
And I also use the Roctane with caffeine in it.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about as we go into things you could have done differently. And Stephanie, I know you had a goal. Shit, I had a goal for you. No pressure. I was kind of hoping that women's record would go down at least 200. Again, your performance was great, and we have a new course record for Queeny, which will stay for a period of time. So, talk to me about what you could have done differently. And again, there's just so many variables in events like not just the backyard, but just going over 100 miles.
Yeah, I think I wish I would have put pants on a lot sooner, because at the end, like, all the guys had pants on for multiple loops, and I was still wearing shorts. I wish that I would have just stayed even on the sidewalk and stretched out on the sidewalk, because my tent was like sitting in a bunch of water, so I couldn't lay on the ground. And so I think those two things that come to mind are like, and then I wish I would have maybe eaten a few more calories per loop, even early on, because I think I didn't consider the elevation being part of like burning energy. Sure. And maybe that would have helped me go a little further. So I think the biggest thing was just that I got cold. And once I got cold, I wish after that second day, like the full second day was in swing, I was like, dang it, it's so freaking nice outside.
It was.
If I could have just made it a few more hours, I think my body would have like bounced back.
Yeah. It's hard.
Those 30 degrees days are not my jam.
It was such a yo-yo. I mean, it was one extreme to the other, and I think when your core temperature is already shot, it's hard to bounce back from that.
Hard to recover.
Of time. Yeah. Jeff, what about you? I know you had from just looking at your splits, talking to you, you had a very well executed race.
Yeah.
And going
my crew and
bigs.
We've kind of looked back at it a little bit. We haven't gone through all the data, I guess, but like there isn't, like we were talking, there isn't too much we think we would change about what we did.
Yeah.
Personally, like I think this probably is most people in a backyard. I tend to project too far ahead sometimes. So I'm like like as soon as I started counting the number of people left or something like that, I would literally out loud tell myself, "Shut up, Jeff." Like I would tell myself that out loud, and it worked most of the time. Like I would literally just stop thinking about it. Or if I was thinking about, how I was feeling too much or how I was going to feel in 3 hours, like, you don't know how you're going to feel in 3 hours. Just shut up and run this hour. I did the best probably with that as I've ever done in a backyard, but I still think that's something I need to work on. I tend to think too far ahead sometimes, or look at the condition of other runners and see, are they going to drop soon? And it's like, who knows? People can be like zombies and go out there for hours and hours, or they can look great and be done in 2 hours. So it's just putting that kind of, I call it silliness, but just putting that aside and like just focusing on your own, on you. And then, if someone else needs help, helping them along the way too. So it's just, I don't know, losing that competitive spirit, I guess, a little bit. Although this was a silver ticket, so there was a little bit of that in there too, I think. But I've totally like changed the way I run these races. I try to be as helpful and as as kind and as thoughtful as I can be while I'm out there. So because everybody else seems to be the same way too. So
yeah. I mean, I think it's at some point your brain's just toast, and there is no like you're just. Bare bones, no ego. It's just, it's you. Let's talk a little bit about when Nick decided, like, did you at any point, because there was a period where you guys were just dueling, it was just you and Nick. Was there ever a point in your head where you were like, oh man, I hope he drops? Or was it more just like, shit, he looks hot. He's not dropping anytime soon.
Well, I thought he was going to drop at one time. But he just hung around, and then he started to look really good and strong. I think when Stormy dropped, that gave him a bunch of energy.
Yeah, confidence.
Yeah, he felt good, and he kind of told me that too. He's like, "Man, that just woke me up. That made me feel good." And I'm like, "Yeah, great. Like I feel good too because Stormy looked strong too. I didn't think."
Yeah, he did. He had a good race. Yeah.
Yeah, and so when it was down to Nick and I, like we kind of talked, like, "Hey, let's go as far as we can. Like, if you're feeling good, pull me along. If I'm feeling good, I'll pull you along." I go, let's just see how far we can go. And we kind of agreed on that. And then we had a couple of like where I was going to go a faster loop because I was going to try to sleep. He was going to do a faster loop so he could sleep. So we did a couple of loops there where we weren't together. And then when we came back, is when he said, "Hey, I need to talk to you." And he was kind of having an injury in his ankle. And he'd been dealing with it for probably a day or a day and a half, honestly. He said, "I think this is going to be my last one." And I was like, part of me is like, hey, I'm not going to believe it until until it happens. I'm just going to run this loop. I was planning on sleeping, so I ran a quicker loop and laid down for a few minutes and got back up, and that's when he said, "This is it." So I knew I just had to finish that next loop, that last loop. But that beginning of that last loop for me mentally was just, I don't know if I was kind of just trying to take it all in or what, but I like got to the halfway point and I'm like, I kind of need to like pick this up. I was a little bit behind schedule.
Yes.
So when I finally got up to that top area, like I kind of took off and tried to go faster and salvage the yard. But I was like, that was my slowest first half of my lap I'd ever had. And I'm thinking back and I'm like, was I just like walking through the wilderness, like taking it all in or something? But it's so weird. Like there's so many parts of this race that have blended together that I can't even pinpoint like what I was doing the first half of that last lap. And then it snapped it out of it, and I remember the second half. But yeah.
And so everybody, like the photos I was posting, they're like, Jeff doesn't even look phased. I'm like, I could not tell at any point that you were getting worn down. And I do have to say that last lap, I was looking at my clock, my
Yeah.
watch, and I was going, okay, you better hurry up. Not that but I was like,
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah.
I'm like, is he just moseying along? Like he doesn't quite have it in the bag yet,
And normally, like if I'm the last one, I will like send it on that last one, like try
Yeah.
to run a fast one. But I don't know. I think it was the like this was a big thing for me. Like Biggs
Yeah.
is a goal. I mean, that honestly, until a couple years ago, I wasn't even thinking that. Like that was not something I was capable of. It really wasn't until last year in March, being the assist to Harvey at Ohio,
Yeah.
that I kind of thought, well, if things shake out right and I, put in maybe a little more work, it's not like I've been running a lot of miles for a long time, but it just, the backyard never quite clicked. So, I mean, it was a big deal for me. So I think that last lap, yeah, it was just, I was thinking about it too much instead of just running the lap and then thinking about it. But yeah, I felt like, I mean, honestly, people keep saying, much farther do you think you could have gone? And I'm like,
Yeah.
hard to tell. I definitely
Yeah.
think I would have made it to the sunrise, and then sunrise always makes you feel a little bit better, and you can go even farther. So I don't know. I don't know how much farther I could have gone, but
Yeah.
I did feel, I would say I didn't have, besides that 1 yard around 180, I didn't really have any low points. So like I hope I can recreate this again.
Sure.
I hope it's not just a one-off, everything clicked. I hope it's something I can recreate again in October. So
Yeah. Yeah. And we're rooting for you on that one.
yeah.
So, before I kind of wrap this up, let's talk about recovery. With an astronomical effort like that, and Stephanie, for you had a 20+ hour drive. I know you guys made a little stop, and but it's been a little over a week since the race. Where are you physically, and also talk to me a little bit mentally, because I know, after the fact, we're all processing like, oh, I wish I'd done this better, or so. How is that for you?
I think mentally is the worst part. Because I didn't meet any of the goals that I set for myself. And so that part, it's like trying to just remain positive and be like, well, this wasn't the last race I ever get to run, so that's good. And I get to reset and refocus. So the disappointment, is definitely there. But being able to use that as fuel versus like keeping me stuck in a negative place.
Yeah.
And then as far as physically, I feel really good. I went and I slept for a couple of hours, and I literally woke up and was like, wow, I feel a little sore, but I feel really good. And then, but I did do something to my left ankle in that mud. So I have just the last 2 days, I've gone running a couple of times. And it's funny because around 4.5 miles is when it's like, yeah, I don't like this anymore. Like my ankle flares up. It doesn't hurt at the beginning. And so I'm just trying to be mindful of letting it heal so that it can dive right back into hard training.
Nope. Is Cocodona your next race?
Yes.
Yeah.
What's your next race?
Good question. I think it's in June, like a 6-hour race.
Okay.
I'm going to stay pretty low key, I think, for most of the year.
Yeah.
What about you, Jeff? Where are you with your recovery?
So mentally, I told myself, if I, pushed myself sufficiently far enough. I was going to take like 10 to 14 days off of running, which is unheard of for me. I feel like totally ruining my Strava streak, but that ended yesterday. I have a week with no runs or bikes or anything. So our weather here is pretty horrible right now. I think the high tomorrow is 22 degrees.
Yeah.
So I'm not really that sad to not be running right now. I will probably start running again at the end of this week. Just physically, I feel good. I didn't have any injuries coming out of it, so that's always good. So it's just trying to get sleep. That's always a struggle for me the week after.
Sure.
Those first 3 or 4 days after, I'm waking up at odd hours and feeling wide awake, and then feeling tired at 1 in the afternoon, that sort of thing. So I've kind of gotten through that, so where now I'm feeling pretty normal. So I think I'll start back training here in a few days.
Yeah. Do you have anything planned between now and Bigs?
Some minor races, pacing like my wife at a half marathon, and then I've got a 6-hour race. I usually do the 12-hour version, but it's a 6-hour trail race, so I'm going to do that in June. And then other than that, we've got our local backyard in September, which I obviously won't be. I'll still go and I'll maybe run a few yards, but I'm not going to be, going all in on that, obviously. But other than that, I may pick up a few races here or there, but nothing too taxing or anything like that. My plan is to kind of, I've kind of neglected speed altogether in the lead up to this. So I think I want to get a little bit of that back. Not that I was ever the fastest person, but I think I want to start off in the spring with some more faster running, maybe marathon type training. And then as summer comes in, start, gearing more towards ultra specific stuff, and then more towards backyard specific as fall gets closer next year or later this year. So that's kind of my plan heading into it. I've never been much of a planner when it comes to training, but I think I will a little bit more. I did more leading up to Queeny than ever. So I think I'll lean into that a little bit and, do a little more planning. I've been more of just kind of run by feel and see how it goes. I've never had a coach. So we'll see. I plan on, maybe writing a few things down on what I plan to do and see.
Yeah. Stephanie, I know you've got Cocodona coming up on May 5th, if I'm remembering that correctly. What's your sort of training block going from Queeny into Cocodona?
Yeah. So here in the next week, I'll be doing like some back-to-backs, longer days, power hiking, more elevation. And because Cocodona is kind of in my backyard, I'm going to be able to go out on the course and actually train right on the course. And so that, and then leading at the end of March, we're doing a 3-day camp, group of runners where we will do a 3-day back-to-back on the course.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again for sitting down and chatting with me. Before I wrap things up, I have one last question for each of you. Stephanie, since Queeny, any particular foods that you've been craving? Like, I just am eating this mindlessly over and over again.
This is the first one where I haven't had usually there's like a 3-day period afterwards where I don't want to eat anything.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden my food cravings come back, but it hasn't this one. I haven't had anything. So, I have been chewing on ice though. I will say that the really weird thing is everywhere I go, I get a huge cup of ice and all I want to do is chew on it.
Yeah.
So,
was there any food? Because I remember when you tapped out, I think you barely even ate anything. What was the first meal post Queeny clean up? I'm human again.
Yeah. So we went out to dinner I don't even remember what the restaurant was. It's local to St. Louis. And I ordered fish tacos.
Yeah.
And I just nibbled on them. But then I ordered dessert and it was really funny.
Yeah.
Because the waiter was he looked at me and he was like, I think this is for y'all to share. There was 4 of us. And I was like, no, this is just for me. I was like, they can order whatever they want, but these brownies and this ice cream, it's mine. So I typically tend to go towards the sweet end of the spectrum.
Nice. Jeff, how about you? What was your one craving post Queeny wrap up?
As soon as we got back in town to Noblesville, we hit up our local Mexican restaurant, Maria's Mexican Grill. That's my go-to. So I've been there twice already in this week. So that's kind of the one food, I think, the one meal I could eat just about any day of the week. But also sweets. I've been similarly, I wasn't exactly that hungry for the few days afterwards, but I was just forcing myself to eat as much as I could because I knew my body needed it, obviously. And now anytime I walk past the pantry, I still have all the leftover food from Queeny that we didn't eat. I'm grabbing just different things. I'm taking them to the couch. So, I'm getting my calories in. I should probably start cutting back sometime soon.
Well, thank you so much, both of you, for sitting down and chatting with me. I appreciate the time and the effort. And Stephanie, good luck with Cocodona. If you decide to come back to Queeny, we would love to have you back.
Thank you.
Jeff, same thing with you. We'll be rooting for you at Biggs. And I mean, you're 3.5 hours out or something?
Mm-hmm.
Hop on. You're welcome anytime.
I think I'll definitely be back.
So
I've had even people who live along the course there have found me on Instagram and messaging me
shoot.
And I'm I was thanking them. They were so helpful just to know some people were going to be there when you got there at 1 a.m. in the morning. Yeah. It's amazing.
It was quite the spectacle you guys. While you guys, there was some dudes bugling every lap. I was it was getting a little annoying. I was just oh my God, just go away. And then I think at some point there was a gentleman there. He was there till we left 2:30 in the morning when we tapped out. He had one of those dinner bells and that kept chiming. And so it was. I think this is the first year we had. 24 when we held a silver ticket. It was a big deal, but this was the first year. It was just everybody, people just kept showing up, and
people seemed to know what was going on.
Well, thanks to everyone for tuning into today's episode. For more information on the TURD podcast, visit our website at terraintrailrunners.com. That's runners with an S, or follow us on our social media channels. We'll catch up next time. Thank you.